Welcome to Ask a Member, a weekly program of the Adrian Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Ann Hughes, president of the Adrian Area Chamber, and it's my pleasure today to welcome Chris Miller, who's with the City of Adrian, both community development, downtown development, economic development.
Economic development.
You're pretty much a development director for the city, aren't you? What does that mean? What do you do?
I facilitate, I think, as much as anything. We're anxious for the private business sector to grow and not rebound anymore. I think we've rebounded and we're definitely on the growth phase right now. So we're looking for investors, we're looking for entrepreneurs, we're looking to help existing businesses expand, so we facilitate. I think that's probably the most concise definition of what we do.
Chris, what tools do you have to make those things happen, to help businesses expand?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's a challenge these days. As you know, Ann, the state has backed away from some historical tools that we've had available to us, brownfield and historic tax credits being the two most significant ones. But we still have a range of incentives and tools that are available for businesses who are looking to buy and expand in buildings. We have some tax credit programs that are available, so we can offer businesses an opportunity to reduce future taxes if they come in and do projects. So that's certainly one of the tools. We, like you, do a lot of networking tools, so I will refer people to you. That's one of the tools that I use. In fact, that's a standard part of the discussion I have with businesses that are new to town. Have you joined the Adrian Chamber yet? And here's why that's important. And that's certainly a piece of it. We work closely, of course, with the LEDC and South Central Michigan Works on industrial or larger manufacturers, those kinds of things where they need that stuff. The city, like everybody else, doesn't have a lot for existing businesses out there. There aren't really tools that are available for the state to use. So that's one of the things that we're kind of talking to the state about on an ongoing basis. Not just how do you attract people in, but how do you help your existing businesses grow. And that's really something that's kind of in process. We're, in fact, again, with the LEDC a few weeks ago, we were talking about putting together kind of a business development team that would come in and help some businesses that have some challenges. Now, you and I were chatting off camera before we got here about some marketing kinds of things that we can do to help businesses grow, et cetera. You know, we certainly do some coordinating of things that are specific to downtown. We collect some dollars, tax dollars that are exclusively for the downtown, and so those dollars we can actually turn those back to private businesses. So we support projects, again, capital projects that they do in their buildings. We can help them with that kind of stuff.
So that's something that you can do for existing
businesses? For existing businesses,
okay. Right,
we can do that. So. Yeah, and existing buildings that are going downtown. So those are some things we can do there. And again, an existing business that undergoes a project that also can be supported with some local dollars and some state dollars where we can finance some of that or help to offset some of those costs.
Do they have to create jobs in order to qualify? Most
of the time they do. So we have basically three pots of money that we have access to. So there's the local pot, which our local businesses pay into. They pay...
that's the DDA district
that is the DDA district, that's correct. And that is money that's all controlled locally. So we have a local board, Downtown Development Authority board, and they make decisions about where to do that. So, for example, some of the things we do common advertising. So we purchased advertising locally, and we pay for those dollars out of that local pot of money because it's very targeted to those specific businesses. We support the First Friday events that happen the first Friday of every month.
Right.
We also support, so we pay some advertising dollars for that. We also support the festivals that happen in town, Artalicious, Winterfest, those kinds of things. We have dollars that we support those particular events for. Those are all local dollars. Then we have state dollars that we get through the MEDC, not many. That's one of our big challenges right now. It has changed significantly, but there are some programs that are still available through them. There are always more hoops. The more levels you go up in government, the more hoops. A lot of people think there are a lot of hoops with local government. It's a lot worse when you get the state government or the federal government involved, but there's a pot of money that we get through the state, and then also federal money, generally community development block grant money that we utilize to do some things. In fact, we're working on a project right now in the old Gene Christopher buildings, on the corner of Winter and Maumee. And that we are, in fact, I'm meeting tomorrow morning with a developer who's working on those buildings, and we are going after some federal dollars for that project. And so there's an application you've got to fill out to qualify for, and in that case you have to go through both the MEDC and the federal regulations to do it. And literally, we've been waiting for 7 months for the state to help us move forward on this particular project. So they're not all fast.
No, it takes a long time, you know.
It does.
And you and I had similar conversations, you know, 10 years ago when the chamber started about, you know, what was going to happen to the Four Corners and other buildings and that. And lots has happened, but there's a lot still to be addressed and to happen, and it takes a long time.
It does take a long time, you know, and part of that obviously was the economic downturn that we went through. That really, you know, starting in 2008, 2009, we saw a lot of retraction of investment in the community, and so that's a challenge that we had to go through. That would, you know, we would have had a more rapid recovery had that not happened. But those projects do take time. And in part, you have to get the community to believe in itself and investors to believe in you. And some of the infrastructure work, you know, the city, when it did the Blueprints program, that was a decade ago when that program was developed. And you and I, again, were both involved in the front end of that process. But the city was really terrific about looking at that plan and saying, we're going to implement it and here's where we're going to do it. They were very systematic about it. So it wasn't one of those that gets set up on a shelf.
It's not sitting on a shelf.
Exactly.
You know,
really was utilized.
Changes were made in the membership of the DDA. That we have the two-way streets.
Yep.
A lot of facade work has been done. And speaking of that, you know, a lot has happened, even though not everything that we want to have happened. But tell us about some of the facade work. It's been significant the last few years.
It really has. You know, starting at the south end of town, the H&R Block building, which is a spectacular building at the south end of the four main blocks of downtown. Beautiful, and actually because of a legal snafu with the contractor, we just got finished with the former Roberts Jewelers building. Also beautiful facade on that building. Of course, Joanne Steele building, beautiful work done there. Copeland's Furniture, beautiful work done there. We've done some other work as well. So SAUCE also benefited. Wasn't part of that same Vibrant Cities grant, but SAUCE did it.
Governor Croswell
Tea Room. Some beautiful work done there. So and more to come. So there's a few smaller projects and some larger ones coming. But we expect to see more facade work and more project work happening this year as we go forward. So that Four Corners that we talked about a decade ago remains one of our big challenges, and we have a couple of buildings. A lot of people these days are asking about buildings downtown, and we're actually selling buildings downtown. We just sold our 6th building downtown in the last 6 months. So when people come to me and say, I'd like to buy a downtown building, I'm saying, well, right now, we really don't have a bunch on the market, but we have a couple of challenges at the Four Corners, the former Democratic building down to where E.E. Tubbs was. And then the Winter and West Maumee corner, but again, we've got a developer working on those corners there. And then there's a couple of others here and there, but nothing really, really significant in size. But anyway, back to those Four Corners, we are working on, we've submitted a grant to actually do some demolition on the back of where E.E. Tubbs is. It's a 4-story building in the front. The back of it is a 2-story building, and it is not historically significant, fortunately for us.
So it can be taken
So we've
down.
asked to demolish that, which would create an opportunity for both service vehicles and customers to park in the back parking lot and get access to those buildings. That's the real big problem. Those buildings are landlocked.
Yeah.
They're really in that whole corner there, which is a lot of retail space, probably 30,000 square feet. There are only 3 parking spaces that are adjacent to that.
Wow.
So now if we can open the back parking lot, which is the goal of that demolition, we actually have developers who are ready to go forward on that whole project if we can get that demolition done. So we'll know that in about 30 days.
That's exciting.
That's really exciting.
There's lots of good things going on. The water lilies opened up. Yep. Awesome Finds has opened up again on West Maumee Street.
Maggard Razors on the backside of that
which
building,
is gorgeous.
which is just a cool story.
That's cool.
A fantastic one. Yeah, it's really terrific. So, and that, I mean, the water lilies with Joyce Sprunger at Boutique du Joie behind that building. You know, we had a couple of buildings downtown this past year that were purchased by existing businesses or people that wanted to put a business in the main floor. Then we had a couple of buildings that were bought by investors that just saw the opportunity to buy it and get a great return on their investment by, and actually Mark Wen was one of those with Awesome Finds and Maggard's. That building has 6 apartments upstairs, and those are all occupied, and both the retail spaces are occupied. So Mark's a happy man right now.
Okay,
so,
and you know, people don't think about that. You know, you talked about the H&R Block building. I would love to live on that second floor with that curved window.
I know, it's spectacular.
But how many people do live downtown?
There are actually a couple hundred people living downtown, and you know, we have a couple of buildings that have quite a few residents. But there's a great trend that's happening downtown, and that is for more development of second and third floors into apartments. And actually, the Bank of Lenawee building at Toledo in Maine was recently sold, and we believe that that's going to have some very nice high-end apartments up on the second floor right now. There's actually some architectural work being done.
The Bank of America?
Bank of America, yes, not Bank of Lenawee. Cool. Right, the Bank of America building. So
that's neat.
That's really cool,
exciting.
and that's a great space, private building, private parking. Elevator in it, great stairways, concrete floors.
So you got a vault in the basement.
Got a vault in the basement. That's right. Yeah. So that'll be
great.
so that right now that's looking like that might be 4 or 5 real high-end apartments in that building. So and the Gene Christopher project is all going to be high-end apartments in the 2 buildings there. So we're seeing lots of young professionals move downtown. So they're. And that's absolutely what we're interested in having. Then that'll help drive some of the other retail that we want to see, and eventually, and hopefully, starting this year, 2013, he says on tape, right? That return of a downtown grocer. We're really working hard on that one. And,
we need that, not just because it'll be an asset to downtown, but it's a resource that the people in this part of the city need.
Right.
Absolutely.
We don't have anything on the east side, and on the northeast side in particular, it's empty. So
that's
and that was something I know you used it all the time. I use it. Everybody I talked to used it all the time.
Everybody went to the farm.
Yeah, you just did. It was
and
a great
they were
spot,
always busy. It was a real disservice to our community.
Yep. Yeah. So
one last thing. Can you give us just a little tease about something that might be happening in downtown or coming?
No, I can't do that.
You can't do that.
No, I think suffice to say, really, and not just downtown, but I really expect to see the trend that we really saw. It was really established in about 2011, and that was people asked me at that point in time, when is the city going to pass the tipping point in terms of redeveloping the community? It happened in 2011, 2010. Is where we saw the first initial investments that I think were the tipping point. What we saw in 2012 was the community embracing that, especially for downtown, but not exclusively for downtown, because it was good growth on South Main as well. Right. And we saw tremendous growth on the industrial side in 2011 and 2012. Great years. You know, we're back up at pre-recession levels in almost all of our industry. So my expectation is that we will continue to see that. My hope is that we will land some big fish. And we have good reason to believe that we will, that we'll see a major employer come into town, you know, in the hundreds of jobs. There's a lot of inquiry around the city and those issues, so I think that's possible, and we'll see continued growth in all the commercial corridors, including downtown.
Very good. We look forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Ann.
Take care.